Hi guys, I think by this point you guys know that I like steps. I think that one of the great things about math is that it is very orderly. There are rules, there are things that we have to do. Now, it doesn't mean that there's not more than one way to get to an answer, but there is definitely an order in the sense of methodology when it comes to math. One of the things that we will talk about today, or what we will be talking about today in this particular video, is finding the area of a circle, okay? Now, the first step that I'm going to write out is that we need to, first of all, identify the appropriate formula and match it with our problem, okay? So if I take a look at this reference sheet, this is an 8th grade reference sheet, but it still has your formulas for a circle here. We see that it's going to be area is equal to pi r squared. All right, so I wanted to correct a little bit of an issue that we were having with the sunlight. All right, so if you notice here, this formula says a is equal to pi r squared. Now, in this example, I have two different versions of a circle, one that's showing a diameter and one that is showing a radius. Now, excuse my drawings, okay, they're a little crude. Okay, so back to the rules. So once we identify the appropriate formula and match it, because what I find is that students tend to mix up or confuse the circumference formula, which is basically determining a distance around the triangle, with figuring out the area within, not triangle, but circle, sorry, the distance around a circle as opposed to the area within the circle, okay? So make sure that you are not conflating it or mixing it up with the circumference formula, because there are two different ones. And what I think sometimes they see pi r squared, or you guys see pi r squared, and you confuse it with this 2 pi r. Okay, not circumference, but this video is about, again, about area. So then, as always, you're going to substitute your values and solve. Okay, substitute your values and solve. So this is going to be relatively simple. I'm going to pull out my handy dandy calculator because I am going to use that for the sake of speed in this particular video. Speed and accuracy. All right, so let's go ahead and clear our memory and our history. Cancel. Okay, sorry. All right, so that is clear. So let's look. We know that our formula to find the area is going to be pi r squared. Now, I'm also using a pen for the sake of this video so that we can see everything. Let's see, our version of pi that we're going to use is 3.14 in this case, our approximation of pi. And we are going to use the radius. Now, we are given a diameter, but what is our radius? Remember, the radius is going to be the halfway point of our diameter. So our radius is going to be 5 millimeters in this particular case. So when I substitute in my number, I'm going to substitute in 5 squared, okay? So here is where we start using our approximation. So I'm going to continue to simplify here. I have 3.14 times 25. Now, what I don't want to see is I want to always see that everyone has written down their formula, so don't jump from here all the way to the answer. So like a magic trick. How did you do that? I want to see all the individual steps, okay? So now, again, for the sake of speed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply 3.14 times 25. Okay, and again, the sunlight, 3.14 times 25. My equal sign, that's going to be 78.5. Okay, so the approximation, because, and it's an approximation because pi is an approximation, is going to be approximately 78.5. Now, I'm not just going to leave it as a number. I'm going to use my unit. We started off with a unit of millimeters. So the unit for area is going to always be units squared. So this is going to be 78.5 millimeters squared. Okay, next, I'm going to be dealing with a radius. So I'm already given the information that I'm going to have to do. As opposed to me actually coming up with the information using my diameter, I'm actually going to be given the fact that my radius is 7.5. So again, I want to go ahead and plug in 3.14 times my radius squared, so that's 7.5 squared. So in this case, it's not going to be quite as easy as 5 squared. Okay, so I'm going to use my calculator, and I'm going to approximate my value, 3.14. So I'll use 7.5. And on my calculator here, I'm going to use the squared symbol. Okay, and then if you notice here, it gives me 7.5 squared. Hit enter. And that answer is going to be 56.25. Okay, 56.25. I'm not going to round anything just yet because I want to round at the very end. So I'm going to use that number. So in this case, the calculator just says the answer of that previous problem times 3.14, which is going to give me 176.625. Okay, so that's going to be approximated at 176.25. So what if I wanted to have this rounded? And let me go ahead and put in my unit. So in this case, there were no units given. So I'm just going to say units squared. Okay, whatever that unit is, units squared. Okay, so if they wanted me to round it to the nearest hundredth, I have it already in hundredths. What if they wanted me to round it to the nearest tenth? I'm going to round it to 176.3 units squared. And what if they ask for me to round to the nearest whole number? I'm then going to round to 176 units squared, never leaving off my units. Okay? So at this point, if you do have any questions, please back up this video and look at it again. If that does not answer your question, please come to class or tutorials with a question prepared that I can answer for you at that time. And as always, I will see you guys tomorrow.